This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself.
We go up and down, we can hear the motor. But no movement. So usually that means the plastic gear is broken. And so to do the repair, we got to get the seat partially out or all the way out. If you want to get it all the way out, you have to use a special deep socket. I think it's an E20. It's very unusual to get out these nuts on the front and then a couple of bolts on the back. The other option is you can use a 13 millimeter right here, and once those are out, you can tilt the seat back and give you access to the gears and motors. So we're going to do that because we don't have the specialized tool. So just taking out one here, and those are just 13 millimeter. 13 millimeter, this is kind of a deep one, although regular size will work too. We're going to get up to this nut here, and it can take a little effort to get it to start, but now that it's started, it's moving really fast. So you can do that there and on this side too. Alright, so we have those two 13 millimeter nuts removed from these two studs. We should be able to hinge this up now. Okay, we got those out. We disconnected this one off, and we're trying to get to this motor and gearbox to do the repair. I'm going to get the electrical connector loose from the offending motor. And just wedge this in, pops out, and then I'm going to drive this pin forward so I can release this one. And this one's doing fine. I'll put the pin back in, but I want to get to this one. So I want to get this motor out because this is the offender that's causing the, the problem. Let's see what's going on with this gear case. To get it out, I want to remove this pin, and the pin goes out that way, and then both motors can come out. It's kind of like a pivot. It's holding them both in position. It is gnarled though, so you can drive it out with a hammer, but you may want to use a file to try to remove as much of that gnarling as you can to get that pin to be a smaller diameter, because otherwise it probably is not going to come out even with a lot of force. So you get a little tool in there. I'm just going to use a file, and then I'll turn the pin and do a little more filing so I can drive that thing out. Once it's done, I'll just put a bolt through there to do the same job as that pin, and I'll put a nut on so that it's a little bit more accessible. We filed down the outside of that pin, took a piece of metal and just drove that pin out. It's right here, and now when I take it out, I should be able to get the motor assembly out. There's the pin that holds it. So here's the motor that we were thinking of. Here's the pin, and we can see a lot of it's been filed back. I'll probably just put a bolt through there and a washer and nut. But this is the one that was giving us trouble. So gears are probably chewed up inside. This one appears to be not easily repairable, but I think what I'll do, just for fun, I might have to just replace this motor and gear assembly. But I don't know, it looks almost like it's just been pushed this way, huh? Let me knock that down and see if that changes anything. This looks like it's out of alignment. This is the seat frame on a 2005 GMC Yukon, but same for the Sierra and for the Escalade and for the Tahoe. And in our Yukon, the back motor that raises up and down the back of the seat was not functioning anymore. You can't really get a motor replacement, so we got this used one. Just going to test it out. So if you want to test it, I've got an old battery charger, 12 volt, and I'm going to take off this one and this one. I'm going to test these motors. So I've got the positive and negative terminals coming out of here, and I'm just going to put them on the terminals of the motor. And then I'm going to reverse polarity so it goes the other direction. And we can see that works. It goes down, and when it hits the maximum, I'll reverse polarity again. And now it raises up. That's for the back of the seat, so that works really good. And on this seat, this is the front part of the seat. We're going to do the same test. So we're giving that energy, and that's bringing the front down, and we reverse it. And should bring it up. That's bringing it up, so it works great. And then that's the last two. Yeah, there we go. So that brings the seat back and forth. Let's try reversing polarity. Comes back. That's great. So it works great. It's just pretty dirty and rusty. So on the 2005 GMC Yukon, these lift motors that make the back of the seat lift up, and this one makes the front of the seat lift up, are no longer functioning. So I bought this used one on eBay for about $130, and unfortunately you can't just buy these motors by themselves because they're integral, they're built into this frame assembly. But what I am going to do is remove these from this old frame, because this frame's kind of rusted, kind of beat up, and put these motors into my 2005 GMC Yukon. To do it, I have to just grind off this pin right here, and I can get this pin out, and then these motors will come off. The back of the motor, this plastic piece, is just held in by this little guy here, and I just have to spin that off. Same with the one in the back. And then these connectors come off very easily, and then I'll just install this one on my existing 2005 Yukon, and I'll put, instead of this pin, I'll put in a bolt with a nut here. This pin is kind of crimped in. If you wanted to remove it from the inside, you could also, what you would do is just take a file and file down the outside dimension of this metal so it's a lot thinner, and then you kind of twist it and file until this is pretty skinny. Then you can knock this pin out and these motors will come right off. So that's what we're going to do. When this is inside the car, you really can't do that unless you remove the whole frame, because there's no room to grind this off. So if you want to do it from the inside the car, you just do the file and knock this pin out, and these motors will come right off. So the reason these motors have trouble usually is inside here there's a plastic gear. There's a metal one that comes off the motor, but the one that is attached to this worm drive is just plastic, and sometimes this metal case becomes loose, and the relationship between this gear and that gear get kind of sloppy, and this gear kind of grinds off the other one, and there's no real replacement. On the after 2007, there is a different arrangement, and you can get a brass gear that from Grooven.com that will fix it. But for these ones prior to 2007, you really have to try to find a used motor and gear assembly, and that's what we have here. So we just got to get these little connectors off. Pry it up. These are bringing power to it. There's one. And so to get these motors off, I got to get this little yoke off of here by taking out these pins. And these are kind of like those E ones also, like an opposite of Torx. But I've just got a little standard head or standard size socket. It's 11/32, and it works really good. Fits right on there. Don't really need any specialized ones. And that just spins out. It's a pin, comes out, and that's going to release the back end of this spindle and then this yoke. And we'll do it on this side too. And we just got to get this little pin out, and we got it. You're going to tighten up this hose clamp right over that kind of weak spot. Okay, that's going to put nice even pressure there. I want to make sure there's nothing about this that's going to get in the way. Looks good. So to get this pin out, probably the best way is to file this to be skinnier, and then you can push it out the front, because if you remove the head of it here, it still gets caught inside. So if you're inside the car, if you remove, here's a cushion seat here, get underneath, remove two 13 millimeter I believe it's nuts, and then you can lift the seat cushion up, pull it forward, it'll release out of these pins. There's a couple electrical connectors you have to undo, and get that out of the way, and then you can come at this pin from on top with a file and just keep working it down with an aggressive file, and then you'll be able to push the pin this way. There's a little gap between here and the inside section of the center console, so there is room to get that pin out. Once you, from inside the car, once you take this cushion off and you get this thing filed down, then you're just going to use something to push it out this way, and then we'll put in the new motors. So I'm just going to work on filing this down. I'll show you here in a second. That pin's starting to come out. Got most of it grinded off. We got a little drift pin, but you could use anything that gives you some extension, and then come in. Starting to come out. These motors are starting to come loose, so I almost got them. Pull that pin a little further. So I may just kind of wiggle it out with my vice grips now. See how we're doing. Getting real close. Once this pin comes out, we can install these into the new setting. There we go. It comes out. Alright, cool. We're going to find a bolt that's about the same parameter, the same diameter, and there's a nice head on it, and then a nut. So this will take the place of what this pin was doing. Here's our motors. We can see how they interconnect. Pin goes through. Pretty cool. So we're going to see if we can find a bolt that'll do that job. Alright, we're in the 2005 Yukon, and we're going to take this plastic yoke off of this, which is hooked to the motor back there, with this pin is going to come out where my finger is, and we are using this is not a specialized, this is 11/32 ratchet, and we're going to put it on there. And even though we don't have much travel where we are, it's enough to get that off. There we go. Got a little purchase on it, and I'm just going to go back and forth until I get it all off, and I'll show you guys. I'm using the 11/32 socket, and I got this pin now off of the yoke, and I'm just going to pull the sucker out. And then, though, to put in the new motor, here's that pin. I'm going to take out this 13 millimeter right here, and this 13 millimeter right here, and I can get the seat off. Before I do that, though, I'll disconnect this modular plug, give me a little bit more room to work. So I'm going to press in on this.